as a big group thing.
Don't you have a mat room?
With a lot
one large room with a lot of foam?
Yes,
but they're all private. They're really private encounters together. Two couples here, one here.
No, there's one large room.
Let Philip talk about that.
I don't know how technical the definition is, but I would say that orgies go on at Plato's every night. It's open. And I don't define orgy.
What's a couple? How many couples make an orgy?
I'd say a group of 5 to 100 couples in the same basic area having sex. Together? Whether or not they cross over.
Oh, then it is right. Then it's right.
I don't define orgy solely by
to my own
masses of group sex.
To myself, before I got into this whole thing, I thought an orgy was a pile.
Yeah, like 10,
a pile.
12
Everybody
people all together.
Everybody on top.
And this doesn't happen at Plato's. It really doesn't.
No, that doesn't happen. But I have seen some amazing geometrical formations on the mats of Plato's. And so much so, I mean, I interviewed some people, I saw them in the bottom of the pile, and then they walked away, and I said, well, what were you feeling there? And a guy told me, he said, I don't know, I could not sort the stimuli. I mean, if you have 3 women around you, and she is around a guy, and she's touching various parts of his body, there's no way the brain can filter that stimulus.
But you say something now. You see, why people come to Plato's? Everybody has sexual fantasies, and they do. Everybody. Now, here's a place where you can live your fantasies. You can live any one of them. Yeah. Maybe a fantasy of a girl was never been with a girl ever before, and she wanted to try it. Now, she can't knock on her next-door neighbor's door. I mean, let's face it, you can't do that in the society. But at Plato's, it can be done. Maybe a man always fantasized being with 2 women at one time. At Plato's, it can be done.
It's a very common
these
fantasy.
things can be done. Now, the argument is, well, once you live your fantasy, it's over. Why live it? It's nonsense, because I've lived my fantasies, and every time I live them again, it's just as good as the first time.
Well, sociologically, Plato's is interesting because before Plato's was sort of a walk-in sex palace. Only the rich, I would say, or the lower class, made these spectacles available to themselves. Now, you know, David, that the rich have fewer taboos than the middle class, and in fact, one of the richest men in the world goes to Plato's quite regularly. And apparently, the swingers movement began in the lower class, but yet ordinary people like us, middle class, would have no way of visiting one of these places because we don't swing with the rich, and let's say we would feel too uncomfortable with the lower class. So that's what I find so interesting about Plato's. That
are you saying that they're all at Plato's?
Pardon?
They're the stockbroker and the bank manager
and the truck driver
and the truck driver and the policeman. They're all there?
Once
they're all there.
Once they take off their clothes, it's the great equalizer. Nobody is different than anybody else.
The point I'm trying to make is that the middle class had no access to this entertainment before Plato's.
What about the problem of disease? Now, here's sex.
I was waiting for that question because this is the main question. The highest rate of VD is in homosexuals and also in teenagers. In the swinging scene, so to speak, there is less VD than in the conventional lifestyle. Swingers do not have to go with streetwalkers. They don't have to go out with girls that are on the street. They're not that way that they go with all different types of people outside the swinging area. What you're swinging with, people are very, like, here's Jack and Bonnie. If they were going into a swing situation, they would go with another couple that's married. The chances of VD are so little because they're going with other couples. Now, of course, there is always the chance of coming down with something.
Is there somebody... are there people that are wrong for this kind of
no question
swinging?
about it, yes.
What would be typical? I would be wrong.
But you know why you're wrong? I think because you don't allow you are too strongly conditioned to, I presume, a more conventional monogamous relationship. I mean, you even said, and you're the first man who's ever told me this, that you never fantasized an orgy.
I've had fantasies, but they didn't include an orgy.
Did it include 2 women?
Right. I would say the people who are wrong, and some of my friends are wrong, but because they've tried it, some have walked out. They're people who do not allow themselves to break through their conditioning. All of us are conditioned against these activities. And it's only those people who are willing to experiment, willing to test taboos, to push themselves, even to push their wives, their husbands, to take some risk. Because when you go to Plato's for the first time, and I experienced this as a journalist, I didn't know what I was getting into, it's probably the only place that's allowed us these days to go to where you cannot predict your reaction.
No.
If you go to Studio 54, you can predict, basically, because you've been dancing.
Yes.
If you've never been to an orgy before, and especially a place like this, it has many other possibilities, you have no idea what effect it's going to have on you. I remember the first night I went with my notepad, and so I was so scared. I didn't move for 3 hours. And many of my friends have reported the same basic hesitation.
Once you've done this, participated in group sex, seen your wife or your girlfriend or the person you live with in sexual action with another man, probably a stranger, once you've crossed over and made mutual love with other couples, when you've done all of that thing, can you return to the other straighter kind of sex, the monogamous marriage sex?
You can do anything. A lot of couples.
Because then it pales by comparison.
It makes it better because you learn more. It's like a learning process.
No, but
you
David's
learn,
saying something
please.
different, though. Can you imagine right now stopping what you're doing?
A lot of couples do.
Yes,
No
you
question
do,
about
of
it. Nobody
course.
swings entirely
Every so often
year after
people
year.
drop
People
out.
You
drop
do.
out of it.
You
Take a
swing.
rest.
I own the club. It's different. But the average couple into swinging, they swing for a year, 18 months, 2 years, and they say to them, let's just stop. And they stop for a year or whatever it is, and then they feel like it, they can get back into it. There's no set rule that I'm a swinger or I'm this and I have to go along with this.
But Larry, do you think they would ever
We
go
stop.
back to monogamy after experiencing
Fully?
your club
I don't
for a
think
long
you-
I
time?
don't
Going
think they
back.
could go back to monogamy on a permanent basis, but they can go back on a basis of a certain amount of time just to have that reaction, that feeling of what living this way. They'll come back to swinging, no question about it. It's too enjoyable, it's too beautiful, not to. Why
Too
repress it?
addictive. It's
Why,
addictive.
No,
That's
no,
right.
I would
Very-
say
Yes,
addictive.
he says yes.
I
it's
think it is.
Why,
It's like addictive.
Cigarettes.
Well, addictive in a certain way, but why repress these
It's like
desires
sex.
you have?
That's
David.
another question.
It's like sex. Sex is addictive. I mean, could you go back to petting?
No. Of course not.
Right.
Okay, so you're addicted to sex.
Now, we've been let
Are
we
your
laid off-
children aware in any
Oh,
way?
yes,
Very
definitely. I don't
sure.
hide anything I do.
Well, is that good, healthy for them, you think?
Why not?
Who's to
To,
say?
Why not?
to be aware, because they are very conditioned. They're children.
They're not
They-
conditioned because they're coming out of that conditioning because we have a complete free feeling towards life. And as far as they're concerned, and I've said this once, I've said this many times, they're children, they're going to make children decisions, we make the adult decisions for them. And as far as when they get older and grow up, they can...
No, I mean right now,
They
that
are
knowledge,
aware
is that a good thing for them? Can
They
they,
are
can they
aware of
deal with
swinging
it?
and that type of sexuality, this our way of life. They are aware of it. That doesn't mean that they're going to choose it. And the way
Do
my
they ever
children are
object to
growing
it? Do
up-
they ever say, but Mom,
No, never.
No, they know that this is our decision to make for
do your
ourselves.
children object? Are they aware?
They're
might be too
really
young.
They're too
young.
young, I would
Too young.
say, to really know about
But I told them
it
we're being
right
on
now.
TV. We told them they're going to watch the show. They're going to find out.
I have a daughter almost 18, and I feel it's important for her to know that there are other choices to be made besides a monogamous relationship.
This
for
is
the
an
rest of
alternate
her life.
lifestyle. That's
She should
exactly
know.
what it is.
She should know about homosexuality, even though I don't expect her to be a homosexual. She should know about B&D and S&M, things like that. She should know about them. She should be aware of them. Every person should be. And parents should see to it that their children do get this knowledge
I think when
in the proper way.
when they are young and
so
they're
that
not
when they are
told
mature
about
enough,
it,
they can make
I
their
think
own
that's
decisions.
How
so
long has your
often in
18-year-old daughter known about you and the swinging movement
The
that you're
day I
part
met
of?
Mary.
3
Just
years
about
ago?
from the very beginning, yes.
From the time she was 15. It didn't rock her?
I think it straightened her out. I think having Larry join our family has helped my children. They're happier now. They're healthier. They're doing better in school. They're performing better. My oldest daughter is working now. She's very proud of herself, and she's accomplished tremendous roads in growing and maturing that her friends haven't made.
But you don't lay this at the door of your swinging.
Pardon me?
That her mother and father swing. You don't lay all of this progress
She
at
doesn't
that
know
fact.
exactly what I do or what
We
Larry
don't talk about what
does.
we do with the club.
Per
As far as
se.
they're concerned, we don't tell them about any encounters we get into. As far as they're concerned, we can go to the club and just socialize with people. We don't tell people.
Oh, they don't know then.
Well, I don't know what
They
they're
know
thinking
as
in their
much as the
mind,
viewing audience knows because they'll be watching this program the same as the viewing audience.
but they will never come down to the club and never be allowed to come down to our club while we're there. Even when they're 19, 20 years old, 21. If they want to get into this lifestyle, they can go to another club or they can go to another situation and get involved in it. That's their business when
But
they reach
at
an
least
age.
they know about it. They're aware of it. And they can make a valid choice for themselves, the type of life that they want to
And we
lead.
are respected by our children. Really, we are. I'm not just saying that. I know it, I feel it,
Because
I believe it.
someone is Catholic or Jewish, they don't only teach their child that religion, they should learn about Hinduism and they should learn about other types of thinking.
David,
not just
have
one.
none of your friends gone to Plato's?
I don't know. I'm not aware. At least they haven't been trumpeting it. They haven't said, guess what, I went to
Very-
Plato's.
You've never spoken to anyone who's gone there before?
No,
for
some
sure.
members of the staff in preparation for this program
Other than
did
that.
visit it and report back their experiences. But I don't know anyone who's been there. Although in reading your article and the article in Playboy and elsewhere, I have come across names I know very well indeed who have been there once or multiple times.
Would you presume them to be sick?
Interesting question.
Yeah, come on, answer on that one.
We'll be right back. Some of the people that have appeared in the various stories on the place that are well-known celebrities are indeed quite sick, in answer to your question. All right? However, it may not have all been born, their problems, with Plato's Retreat.
Right.
Have you known any people to be traumatized, to be affected badly, and, you know, really suffered side effects from their experiences there?
I don't think the effects last very long, but I have interviewed couples who have gone out of there very hurt. For example, a man, and this usually happens, the man takes the wife, and he may do certain things. He may force her to get undressed. He may put pressure on her, and maybe not force. That's enough. And the wife will feel extremely uncomfortable being exposed. She will see things in her husband she didn't expect, certain coercion maybe she didn't expect. But there's a reverse of that coin. I talked to another couple specifically about how they felt watching each other make love.
Uptight,
I talked to a woman who saw her husband make love in the jacuzzi for the first time. First time she'd ever seen him make love with any woman. And she was shocked. She turned her eyes. She wanted to get out of that place. She wanted to scream. And yet, I interviewed the husband a week later, and I said, how has it affected her? And he said, well, she hated it when she saw it, but she told me that she masturbated in her tub, thinking of that fantasy 2 days later. So the point is, you cannot measure the effect immediately.
Another thing that they've done is they've communicated their fears and their joys and their fantasies. They've communicated their own reactions, which is a beautiful, helpful
We
thing.
try and screen people.
But they've also
Couple.
destroyed a privacy of commitment and a privacy of oneness.
But
they
we don't have that anyway, do
Is
we?
that-
We
Dave,
don't
they
have
want
that
to
in a
destroy
society.
that.
There is no
That's why they
privacy.
go.
But everybody's cheating and running around.
Not
There's no-
everybody. I mean, don't make those
I-
sweeping.
I-
A lot of
why
people
not?
cheat.
Well,
I'd say the majority of people. I won't even go to 92%. The
All right.
majority.
Once you've been into your swinging movement, whether
Yeah.
at Plato's Retreat or elsewhere, can you return to the normal life? I mean, do people drop? You said they drop out for a year or so, but they
drop
come
out.
back. You
Of course they
you
do.
got
Why
them
shouldn't
forever.
they?
We
Why
dropped
wouldn't
out
they?
for 3 years.
How are their lives changed? How are your lives changed?
We
for the
dropped
fact
out for 3 years,
that 3 years.
3 or 4 years, and then we came back. And the first time we started again was with Plato's. We think it's great. It's really a great place.
When we
it's much
first went
different.
down there, I was told a little bit about it, what it was going to be like, and I had these thoughts in my own mind that
These reservations.
I was not going to get undressed. I was not going to fool around. Nothing. Just go down and look. And I went, and about a half an hour after I was there, just listening to the music and the atmosphere and the people, I just
The people make the members make the club.
yeah.
You
And
just
I
left.
just got
King,
right
he
into
doesn't
it
really
with
make it that
everybody
way.
else.
The
I
members.
said to him, come on, let's go take our clothes off and let's go in the whirlpool, in the swimming pool, and so on. And just, was really wonderful.
At
lost
Plato's,
my-
there's lovemaking I should stop that word.
Yes,
There is sexual intercourse everywhere you look, right? The swimming
No,
pool, the
no,
cruise
No,
ship.
not really. You might see a couple in the whirlpool in a close encounter or something, but the usual thing is there's certain areas, I'd say 99% of any sex that goes on at Plato's is either in the mat room, which is enclosed, or the private rooms in the back. I mean,
Not according to your
we have areas.
We only go to private.
Well, one of the interesting things about Plato's, we talked about, it satisfies people. If you're an exhibitionist, you can certainly get off there, and if you're a voyeur, so it satisfies all.
We have
all
areas
tastes.
with couches and everything where people can sit fully dressed out of the way by the disco floor and just watch the whole place as one big scope. And it's just very enjoyable sitting there, and nobody bothers anybody. There's the only
That's
place.
true.
There's
That's
the only
true.
place where you have this many people coming in a premises where there's not one bouncer on these premises. You show me a disco, a bar, anything without any bouncers. We don't have one. We never had a fight.
They're too tired to fight.
Not too tired to fight. There's no reason to fight. There's no reason.
You're about to franchise this thing of yours in other cities, right?
Yes, we are.
Where? Detroit?
We're opening up in Detroit, Los Angeles, in Florida, and we're negotiating also in New Jersey right now. In the
What do you
next 3
think will be
months,
the
we'll have them
response? What do you guess will be the
Overwhelming.
response? You were a kind of a neutral journalistic observer.
Listen, if sex sells here, it should sell other places. I can't imagine why not.
Well, New York has a freer, permissive.
No, it doesn't. No, don't.
Attitude.
No, in a sense it does, but I think the sample of people, I mean, there are 8 million people
Fort
in New York.
Lauderdale, Florida, you're going to have your work cut out.
Well,
Oh,
7
why
out
would
of
we have
10.
our work cut out?
Dave,
In Fort Lauderdale, Florida? You
Yeah.
ever been there?
Yes, but why would I have my work
It's a
cut out?
very conservative community.
And all the people
Except
there are very
at
conservative.
Easter vacation time when thousands
Who
of
do you
kids
think
come.
comes down to Plato's?
Yeah,
It's the
7,
people come down to Plato's that
7,
tell
8
their
out of
friends
10
they're very
couples, they're all out of
conservative,
town.
but they
It's a
come
lot of them.
sneaking down. We get people from Fort Lauderdale, we get people from California, we get people from Paris, France coming to Plato's. They fly in.
Germany.
7
All
out of 10
over.
couples are from out of town.
What would you say? We have a minute left. What would you say to the reaction that a lot of people will have? Well, that's symptomatic of the
Let them come down
immorality
and see it
and
themselves
the
That is the
decay in this
only
country
way.
today.
If you look for degradation and depersonalization and immorality, if you look for it, you'll find it at Plato's. If you don't look for it, you won't. David, you would see that there. I didn't. I saw, I think, an anthropological phenomenon, and I wrote about it as such, without any moral judgments.
Make a moral judgment.
I don't think it's immoral.
We're the 8th wonder of the world. Okay?
I think it's different, but
This
I
is the
don't think it's
this is the
immoral.
biggest thing that hit New York City since the World's Fair. And it is.
So true.
I'm not just saying this,
Oh,
it really
please,
is.
Please.
It snowballed.
It
It
is.
really
Take
did.
my word. We have a song out, Plato's Retreat, that's #1 in the country right now.
Played on
Would
all
you
the
amend
stations.
your
Unbelievable.
judgment that Plato's is sick after meeting these two couples?
Well,
Well,
there-
even without that, would you
for me,
allow us?
to me, in my mind's eye, it's quite sick.
Would you
I
still
can't-
allow us the right to
Yes.
behave in this
Go
way?
go back
live
tonight
this
and
way?
have a good time.
Definitely will.
Thank you.
I thank you very much for coming. And if you stick around,